Oh, oh. Oh, buddy. Monday. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I need coffee. And I need to buy about 20 more meat sticks. I wonder how much money is that? It's like 2 for 50. You get 3 in each. It's about like $8 or something each. Swedish bucks, that is. Oh. Okay. Hold on. Where were we? Didn't I do this? What was I working on yesterday then? Not yesterday, the other day. Hmm. Guess we just worked on the level editor mainly? No, no, no. We worked on the object. No, what? I remember I did do something, and it did this. Okay, let's see. Comment that out. I don't think the action list is necessary here. I do think that maybe we should actually handle the selection modes here. That might be a thing. I need donuts. If it didn't fuck up my vision, I would be eating an entire package of cinnamon buns every day. But it makes me fucks up my eyes because I think I have diabetes. All right. Okay. had to deal with some stuff. So basically, I I kind of regret how things are working here, but I also think we won't change it. Because the editor action, I do think that the editor action should have been just a base class, and then everything else is actually inheriting from that. That's one of the issues that my old code really suffers from, is over-optimizing stuff like that. Because I'm like, oh, well, it shouldn't make a new class if it only has, like, 2 variables or whatever. Like, who gives a fuck, man? Because if it was actually like that, then the action itself could actually contain more information, which I think would be good. But I don't think we actually need it. So I don't think we're gonna change it. But I do think that we have to do the operation here. In that case. And that's... the issue is... this stuff, right? Basically. So, if we are replacing... what's replace? Oh. Yeah. Actually, is it an actual problem? But we could save it. Editor selection type. Yeah, we could just do... we could just do this. Hello, Jano. How are you doing? Work over, driving home, vacation next week. You have vacation this early? What's the plan? Mountains? Perk of family business? Yeah, fair enough. Didn't know it was a family business you were working at. I think this should just be a like do selection, not add or remove. Okay, so it needs to be something like if world controller, no, level editor dot, am I? Oh, I'm ready for the weekend. I have to do a bunch of things on the weekend anyway, so the coding is going pretty well. It's just the issue is just that I have to rework a bunch of old things here, unfortunately, which always feels bad. Feels good when it's done, because it usually feels like you lost a bunch of weight. But it does feel like you're stomping on the same stomping ground, you know? You're just not really moving, and that feels bad. But it is going pretty well. Yeah. Family birthday stuff tomorrow. Probably might have to, like, chainsaw some wood and stuff. I don't know. Oh, no. We'll see. Maybe I get the day off on Sunday. Hopefully. Oh yeah, it's That's how you do it. And then this is a bit array. And then you do well, we can just do it like this, right? Z equals min Z. And this is max Z. I think we can do that. And then on replace, we are creating replace here, right? So on replace, we should deselect everything. This is not to be handled here. This actually doesn't need to do anything. If we're doing replace, if editor selection type equals replace, then we do this, else we do this big section here. If you replace, it's just clearing out the old one and adding a new one. Ooh. I don't know, does default need to be at the bottom? Does that matter? The replace doesn't do anything, really. Wait. No, we don't need to do this at all, do we? No, we don't. We just need to do this. Good morning, Heretical. How's it going? And then this needs to not be add. What are we doing here? New tile. And this needs to be called something like... do tile selection, maybe. Yeah, see, here we are doing some stuff. But... we do it in here? Yeah, I think we do it there. And in that case... We don't need to really do anything there. We just need to expand this a bit. And here, I think we should have a switch that says like that. And we can say selection type equals add. No, replace is first. Then we do case replace, but actually that shouldn't be here. A replace. Replace, fuck me. Editor action, new selection. Okay, so we need a list editor action list equals new, and then here we need to just do this. Like that. But before we do that, it needs to say if selection type equals replace, then we need to say action list dot add new editor action, and which one is clear? This should be multi-threaded, actually. But that's not that hard. I'll do that if it's needed. Using your brain is difficult. It's hard. It's hard to think. Wish I didn't have to think. Oh, that's ass. Hold on. Okay. Fuck me. Clear tile selection. Should this be like action in and of itself? Bro, do I just rework the actions? Because I'm actually at the beginning of fixing this. Everything that has to do with the action. But I'm not really sure how to structure it. Like, do I make an action that's just inherited from it? But in that case, how do I structure that? It would need like its own internal execute. Because this is ass. It's genuinely just ass. Yeah. So do I write... I don't really know how I feel about, like, small classes. Because I almost feel like writing all of the classes that inherit from editor action inside of here. But maybe that's stupid. Where do we have editor action? It's in level editor. We'll make a new folder. Editor actions. Welcome home. So this should pretty much just have action type then, I think. With a complementary headache. Oh, that's rough. That's rough. Probably should see into getting some electrolytes. Might be a good idea. I need to drink more water in general. And I think that's all this base class should contain. And then it should have a public virtual void execute. Oh, coffee isn't water. Replace the bitter of coffee with 85% chocolate. I don't think that's good for me. But neither is good for me, so it's like whatever. Let's see what it says. Yeah, I shouldn't be drinking either, but apparently cocoa is better for like autoimmune issues. Shouldn't be drinking coffee at all in reality. But just cocoa is so expensive. Jesus. Hello, Metallic Chair, how's it going? I'm ready for the weekend. Are you ready for the weekend? Oh my god. Oh, movie today, by the way. Oh, in 3 hours roughly. 3 hours 15 minutes. I don't know what movie it is today. I wasn't talking cocoa, just actual bitter chocolate. Yeah, but for me, like I've been failing really hard to avoid sugar and carbs in general. But I wouldn't mind just making like cocoa instead of coffee with just pure cocoa, no sugar. But neither is great for like autoimmune issues. I don't have like massive autoimmune problems. I don't actually have even diagnosed autoimmune issues, but I think I do have autoimmune problems. So I try to avoid stuff if I can, but it's really hard to not avoid stuff, or it's really hard to avoid stuff. Because eating things is nice. I want a bunch of sugar and pastries. It's good and yummy. Oh my god, I don't want to do this. But I have to. How should this even work? Execute. What are we feeding in with execute? It needs a world controller. I like my salty snacks and potato chips. Dude, I realized that they sell like half a kilo of dried banana chips at the store. And I think I ate like... Last week, I think I ate 4 packages. Not good. And I also have issues with like binge eating. Like when I start, like if I buy like cinnamon buns or something, I can't just take like one out of the package for coffee. It's like either I eat the entire fucking package in one go, or I don't buy cinnamon buns. That's how it goes. More or less. I think maybe it's like this. Maybe we want to pass in the level editor. No, these should be stored here on creation. Same here, pretty much. I bought a pretty large package of off-brand cheese nachos last week and ate the whole thing basically in one sitting. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Snacks are dangerous. Eating them in one go is the standard. Yeah. It's even worse because I have diabetes in my family. I shouldn't be doing it. Man. Okay, so now that we have this editor selection action, how should this work? Public editor selection action base level editor WC action type. Wait, am I dumb? Or should this take all of this too for it to work? Yeah. All right. I'll be right back. Bathroom. Ooh. All right. So, how should this work? I'm not in threat of that. I don't have Costco anywhere I know. Yeah. But maybe you've got a Lidl. But if you ever end up in the States, be careful there. I will be careful. I will be. Then this also needs to take some more things. It needs to take... Editor selection action. Editor selection type. And then it needs to take a bit allocation data. I need my chalky milk and microwave snack. Good luck, dude. And then we do that. And then we need a public override void execute. And that's then going to access editor world data list, world controller dot world index. And then we'll say which selection type. Sure, that works. It just does whatever the hell it wants. And What if we do that? Clear. And then for clear, we'll say... Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so clear. I need to fire my maid. Dude, me, didn't clean the bowls last night. Probably too drunk. Yeah, gotta get rid of that guy. Someone who can do the job. Is why I use one thing. I use one bowl. I barely even use a plate. I only use like my pot and a fork. And I clean them before I eat. Because otherwise it piles up. I'm not doing it. Okay, so if we are executing clear, I usually clean the bowls as I need them. Yeah. I have an enamel cup I use for everything. I don't drink straight from the bottle. I don't really drink straight from the bottle either, but that's because I don't buy bottles anymore. But I hate using a glass. I drink straight from this. This is what I drink from usually. So should an action have an undo and a redo? I just felt something in my trap pop. Is that good? Is that a good thing? I don't know. Okay. Okay. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna say level editor dot, well, ewd dot selection area Tile selection. This selection area. That's something I think should not be get private set. And selected tiles shouldn't be something you can set either. It should be like... Editor world data. Public void resize bit array. Or should we say... Let's just say new bit array for now. And then we just say int length. Selected tiles equals new bit array length. And that's it. And then selection area equals vector 3 int.0. No, vector 6 int. No. I mean, that doesn't... What about public void set bit int position? What if we take a vector 3 int position and then we say if int position 1D equals LOTF dot 3D to 1D position int x size, int y size. Editor world data. I think the editor world data should have access to its world. That way we don't need this. Then we can instead just fetch world controller.map size. And then we'll say if position, if pos1d is greater than 0, no, greater than or equal to 0, and is less than selected tiles.count, then we'll say we'll set that. But what we'll also do is we'll say if value equals true and this equals false, then we're gonna say selection count plus equals 1. And we're also gonna say if selection area dot min vec3 dot x is greater than position dot x, then selection area dot min vec3. Can you do this? No, you can't. So selection area is going to be dot set selection area equals new vector 6 int. Nah. Then here, this is Y min, Z min. And then to set the maximum X, it actually has to be different. Like, it's gonna have to be... Or maybe not. Yeah, it contains a minimum and a maximum. Okay. It's not size. This needs to be Y, Z. And then we'll say if selection area dot minvec3 dot x is greater than position dot x, then set min x to position dot x. We're gonna format it like this because it's gonna need a bunch of these. And then this is gonna be... Is here... It's if this is greater. And here then it's if this is less than. Yeah, I think that should be correct. That way... That way we can expand the area just by adding tiles. However, when you remove tiles, it's shitty. So, if we're adding a true and the tile is set to false, then we can do this. But if it's the other way around, and the value we're setting is false, and this tile is true, I think it should never be set bit. It should always be set bits. And it should always take a bit array allocation data. And then this needs a for loop. And then here we're gonna say local position. Let's set. Is that what we want to do? Or should we just do? Let's just say equals new vector reint. Or is that even it? OTF dot index 1D to 3D. And then we take an I and we take a bad dot x size, bad dot y size. Right? And that's how we get the new local position there. And then we have to say current index equals LOTF dot index 3D to 1D bod dot position plus local position. And then this is world controller dot map size dot x, world controller dot map size dot y. I do need to go to the stores later. that. No, it's this. Something like that. No, this doesn't work. You can't do this. And here we need a bool, recheck, area equals false. And if this is it, then here we say recheck area equals true. And then we only do that after we have set everything. And then here after this for loop, we then have to do another for loop. If recheck area. Hello, Charles. Googled something and found myself on VK. What's VK? My understanding, the Kontakte was like Russian Facebook. Now it's just a video website that doesn't care about copyright at all. Okay. And here we iterate through selected tiles. And we need to set current index in there. No, we need a current position And current positions should be actually 1D to 3D. I. And then map size, yeah. And then we're gonna say if selected piles I is true, then we go in here and we say current position now this one is a little tricky. Here we need to say selection area equals new vector 6 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1 minus 1. There. And then we're gonna say if but here we first of all need to say if minvec equals minus 1 and this is maxvec, and we set that. And then once that's over, recheck area equals false. Though I don't think you need to set that. No. This is just set bits. I think that should be done. And let's rename this to set selection bits. And this is new selection bit array. I think this is all we need to feed it. Because then here, selected tiles, we can say new bit array map size dot x times map size dot y times map size dot z. And even use this. Then the level editor now has some errors. Because here we're setting world data. And all we need is to feed in the world. That. And we can say if like that. Here now we have actions are fucked. Ooh. Ooh, ooh. Oh, 2 hours. Dudes are outside walking. So we need to make new actions for everything. Because the way it worked before was that based on the constructor used, the action became a certain action type. But because we have so many actions now, it became bloated, so... I think this solution is better. But it does mean that we need to make them. And the question is, how should it work? I feel like the actions should contain an execute and a revert function. More or less. So it needs to be able to undo itself, as well as execute itself. And right now I was writing the ability to clear a selection. And the selection clear needs to be like, it basically takes a snapshot of the selection. And then we clear the selection. Either that, or we take a snapshot of the current selection area, which I think is the better option. Because the selection area is meant to be like... If I have a selection, if I have a tile selected in every corner of the map, then the selection area is the entire map. It's just like a rectangle that contains the maximum and minimum selected tile in each axis, more or less. And that way we can use that to minimize operation size. So whenever we need to like clear out tiles, we only need to clear out tiles in the area that has any tiles. And it should be multi-threaded, but we can do that. We can do that. If I notice that there's like a delay, we can multi-thread it. But otherwise, I think we're mostly good. Hello, ho, ho. Programming is going okay. It's Friday, though. I'm ready for the weekend. But it's going forward. Just taking a little breather because it's been 2 hours. Right now I'm reworking the level editor history system a bit. Because before it was a class called editor history or editor action. And each history entry contained a list of actions that it went through. And the action was... Where is it? It's here. Yeah, the action had a bunch of overloads on its constructor, And depending on which constructor was used, the action type enumerator, or the enum, was set to a certain action type, which here is draw, tile, object placement, object movement, object selection, tile selection, object deletion, etc. But I'm reworking it now so that instead the editor action class is just a base class, and then we use inheritance, and we actually create like an editor selection action here with an execute override so that it can have more proper behavior that's contained in the action itself instead of having to be contained in the level editor. Because right now the way it works basically is here in execute action, we're checking, okay, is it a draw tile? And then we have to check like, okay, what are we doing? And then do a bunch of like special things here. So we're changing that to this. We'll still need to create the action. And like I said, we need an execute and we need a public virtual void revert. And then here on clear, set selection bits. Very nice. You can default the bitrate to full true. That's perfect. And then we can set this to false. Alright. Set selection bits. No, wait. This shouldn't take this at all. This should be false. What kind of undo system are you going for? Something like saving/loading full snapshot data or command pattern? I don't know exactly what those things mean in general, but I guess command pattern. Basically, the way it works is that everything that the editor can do, at least everything that should be doable or undoable, counts as an action. And then I run it through a function called execute action that just runs the current action, basically. So you have editor history, and the editor history is a list of editor action lists. So if I am on like history index 5 and we have 5 entries, or it would need to be 6 entries, but either way. And let's say I redo, and I want to redo the action that is ahead in the history list. Then we simply iterate the index up there, and then we execute the list of actions. So we go through the list, and then we just execute them in the same way that they were like done initially. And then I have, or I'm going, before I was just kind of like, when you undid, it just had like logic inside of the undo function that just kind of did like undid whatever data was in the action. But now I'm going to make the editor action class itself have a revert function. Wherever the action went. I don't even know. Oh yeah, no, it is this one. Yeah. So then here you have the execute, and depending on what it's doing stuff. And then we have a revert that will do kind of the same logic I was doing before, but more contained within the actions. So that partially just to make the actions capable of being more advanced and being able to be expanded later more easily by it being an inheritance here. And also just to declutter the level editor. But yeah, here for example, right now I'm implementing clear for the selection tool. And we need to create this action somewhere. So there will be a function in the level editor that has some extra logic for how to actually create this properly. See here, you take a selection type, and in order to clear, what we're gonna do is we are going to... I have a bit array allocation data class here, which takes a position, a size, and a bit array. And we then use this bit array to clear a section of the total bit array for the level, right? And the bit array is just a one-dimensional array of bits. And so is this. So we have to convert it to like local space so that we write to the correct bits. But that's fine. I already know how to do that. But I have a selection area vector6int struct, which is basically a three-dimensional rect or rectangle, right? And this, I implemented some logic here to make it so that whenever we set bits or remove bits, we at the same time set the selection area to be the min and the max of whatever tiles currently exist in the selection. And then when we clear, I'm using that to minimize the amount of sets I have to do when we clear. Because I could just clear the entire map, right? But because it's just a linear undo and redo system, it's never gonna need to do like a full clear, because it's like if we cleared, then we cleared a certain amount of bits and we only need to store those, really. But the clear function should store the previous snapshot of the selection data, so that here, when we execute it, we just clear out the current selection, and when we revert it, it contains that snapshot so it can reset it. Basically. And so this should be like this. A new bit allocation data. This should actually just be the bit allocation data that we have. And that's it. Because the bit allocation data is self-contained. It contains the position, like the global position, and then it creates local positions based on its size. And this should be whatever rimmed area we were using there. And let's see, set selection bits is here. And here we are incrementing if the value is true and the value is bad I dot, no, bad I, yeah, right? No, bad I dot bad dot array. Bad is my bit array allocation data. There. Dude, I am fucking up everything. And then here, when we set a tile as selected, all we need to do is just do a min and max check, and then just increase it or decrease the min and max of the selection area. But when we remove tiles, we have to recheck the entire area. So therefore we don't really change anything here. We just set the thing and yeah. Whew. Potato prices have surged 700%. But they were down 700%. No, 1600% before. Okay. Should have invested when it was low. I'll be right back. Maybe I should try saving the coffee break for 2 hours into the stream. That could help. Like, that could give me an actual break. Because the reality is, Like working 4 hours in a row without a break is actually like not ideal. It is hard. But taking a break is hard too when you're streaming. Like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Just sit here? I used to go for a walk, but I don't do that anymore. That was also shit. And honestly, playing a game doesn't help. It almost makes it harder to come back if you start a game and do some shit. Hamburgers. These days, I often think I'll feel better after sleeping, then I wake up feeling like shit. Yeah, me too. I do feel better after sleeping, but I always feel like shit. It is what it is. I don't have the energy at all to exercise. Like, I try doing it, but I just can't do it. It's too much. I'm trying to, like, find some time to just go for a little walk. On, like, the weekend, but even that's, like, barely. Go for a walk on, like, Sundays. I have been going to bed way too late, though. That doesn't help. Because I would have more time in the morning if I didn't go to bed at 4 a.m. Ooh. You're getting old, Charles. You're almost 40. Oh. I mean, it doesn't matter if I wake up an hour before work or 6 hours before work, I'll do nothing until it's time to leave. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I know the feeling. Ooh. Cracked open the window. Just can't get to bed before 4. I need to stop watching streams. Just watch Chinese television again. But Chinese television has been pretty bad recently. They haven't been putting stuff out. I should totally exercise in case that waitress half my age thinks I'm cute. Yeah, you should. I will ask her if she wants to hang out and play Sengoku Rans together. Sounds like a plan. Good plan, Charles. Good plan. Ooh. Oh, actually, oxygen is nice. I should buy an oxygen can or an oxygen tank, and just set it to like always release a little bit of oxygen. Fill my room with oxygen. That's good, right? It's an oxygen saturation. Mozzarella elephant. Oh. Is that enough of a break? You think my brain can continue? I don't even remember what I was doing anymore. All right. Right, we're executing selection. Now here we have a selection type called replace. And I think we shouldn't have that. Not in here, at least. I'm not sure. Because replace would have to be two actions. Right? It would have to be a clear and an add. So I think it's kind of weird to make it be both. Inside of one action. Because I would need to have two bit array allocation datas. But I suppose we could create it here. But it would mean that we would need to have another allocation data here. And call this previous. And then in order to replace, we would need to say previous bit allocation data equals new bit array allocation data. Which is gonna be EWD dot selection area dot min vec3 EWD selection area dot size dot x dot y new bit array and this bit array needs to be created with a for loop. Like that. And then we need this, I believe. And then we need to say the array index equals ewd.selection selected tiles LOTF 3D to 1D XYZ EWD dot map size dot X there, and then we create this new bit array here. We feed that in here to the previous bit array allocation data. When we execute replace, and then we execute this. Right? We could do something like this: public void clear. And then here we just do clear. And then this is also just clear. That way we don't have to pre-allocate the thing. And then as we revert clear, And then in order to revert, what we're gonna do is to revert a clear, we just do ewd.setAllocationBits previous allocation data. And that should be it. And then reverting the replace. We then have to undo that. We need one of these. Like, this is the last thing it's gonna do. But it needs to undo... because this is undoing the clear. But first it needs to undo the write. So I have a function called set selection bits here. And it just sets the bit to whatever is in the other thing. But I kind of wonder if that's how it should work. Because, like, should it be... It's just so hard to really think ahead of all the scenarios, because it could just be that false means that it should be set to false, and then we just write, like, the section, kinda. I think it might work. But another way it could work is that the bit array, the allocation bit array, is actually which bits are set true for the operation, and then you can have another. You can then feed in an operation with it, like remove, and then every bit that is true in the incoming array means that if the tile is selected, like if both are true, then it should be set to false, right? That does become a lot more complicated. I'm just thinking if I have to do it. Because, like, if I remove a certain amount of tiles, yeah, it has to be that way. We have to change it to that. So how do we do it? Is a bool enough? Like bool remove equals false. Like, is that enough? I don't think so. And in that case, it's gonna have to be a selection. Like that. But I think it should really just use subtract and addition and intersection, maybe. I think those are the only three you need. Actually, setting bits. So then, if the incoming bit array is true and the selected tile is false, and we have to say selection type equals addition, or intersection. I honestly don't know really what the point of intersection is when using a selection tool, but I have it anyway. I just always thought that intersection is kind of like, why does it even exist? Like, what are you using intersection for ever? It's I don't know. I just googled it, but I genuinely can't. Like, why would you ever use intersection? I don't know. I want cookies. But yeah, so here, if the bit array is true and the selected tile is false, then if we are in addition mode or intersection mode, then we need to move that. Then we set the tile to true. Else if selection type actually let's move the and in if in case I need to add something else. I think that makes more sense. Like that. And then if selection equals remove subtraction, But then this needs to be changed here. But this should also be or intersection. Right? Yeah. Because intersection just flips it. And that might be it. It wasn't harder than that, I think. And then here we say addition and clear subtraction, right? So that means that basically, if we create a snapshot of the previous bit array, that means that we can both subtract it and add it, because it's always positive. Like, all tiles that exist are true, and so because we are now doing it so that if it's subtraction, we subtract the true, and if it's addition, then we add the true. Then I don't need to do any bullshit. I'll be honest, I wish there was a for loop for just XYZ. So it's just like one line for like looping a vector 3 int. I wonder if writing a function for that would be stupid. And then here then, addition, in order to replace, we do that, and then we have to ewd dot set selection bits, bit allocation data, subtract. There. And then addition is just this. Subtraction is just subtraction. Intersection is intersection. And then here, addition is subtraction. Subtraction is addition. And intersect is just intersect. Because intersect just flips. And clear does that. I think that's it. We'll do that down in here. Then here we have execute action. And quite frankly, we shouldn't need to have any of this anymore. All we should have to do is we should have to just go to the action, iterate through it, and then run execute. If it's redo or execute. And if it is undo, let's see here. Tile selection. Right, so here, input dot selected. So all we should have to do here is say input I dot revert. Else input I dot execute. And the reality is this is for tile selection, but none of these things, the else if, it doesn't matter anymore. So it should be like just here, just like this. And that's it. Kind of. Yeah. But I don't like this either. This is... If increment history equals 0, then we add this there. Yeah, here... we need a public virtual void destroy. Which will run here. Destroy. And the reason we need to destroy is because if you create an object and then you undo, that object shouldn't be destroyed. It should just be removed. And then if you redo, we just add it back again. It's basically like just setting is enabled to false on it. Right? And then if the history entry is cleared, then we destroy it and return the object to the object pool. But otherwise, I don't think that we should like re-instantiate it over and over just because we are undoing and redoing. Because I feel like that's just wasteful. And then, like I said, all of these we can just delete like that. And then here in these, we have to create the new actions. And here, like it says delete selected. And here for the tiles, now let's... we only have tile selection. And then this needs to be a new edit or selection action, which is going to take a bunch of bullshit. Yeah. Like that. Whew. I think maybe it's about time to stop. I think that was a good piece of progress. I need to go to the bathroom, but we have a movie starting in an hour and I need to go to the store. Ooh. And then I guess we'll keep playing the Thaumaturge. The game isn't amazing. I don't feel like I have like a burning desire to go back and play it, but we'll keep playing it for now. And we'll see. It's alright. I don't know what else I would play anyway. It would just be some other story game that I don't know if I'm gonna like. So, we'll keep playing that. I wonder how long it is. Anyway, I am going to the store to buy... What am I buying? I'm buying more meat sticks. And... I'm not sure. Oh yeah, some creme fraiche for my tacos. But yeah, that'll be that. Until next time, thanks for hanging. Have a good day. Bye-bye.